bloodsuckers.
As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell,
Join us!
you will realize that there is something ahead. Something that lurks behind the dark veil.
We have such sights to show you.
A veil that is beyond our own comprehension.
I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right, it's episode 191. I am Alex.
And I'm Christina.
And we are your hosts.
Beyond the void.
I don't know. Christina just stares at me and it makes me feel really uncomfortable.
I don't know what to say.
Anyway, guys, thank you guys for stopping by this week. We got some fun fucking, well, let's just say bizarre 80s movies that you may or may not want to check out. These are legitimately bizarre, so bad it's good kind of movies. It's really kind of just bizarre.
Right.
It's really bizarre. There's a lot of really good information, though, that I found on these movies, too. So I didn't want to go buck wild because one of the movies we're going to break down pretty heavily towards the end. So it'll be the last movie, Night Train of Terror. Wait, Night Train of Terror.
Night Train to Terror.
To Terror. God damn it, I couldn't do it. So I hope you guys will stick around for that as we do our breakdowns and make fun of the movie and its ridiculousness because it's pretty crazy.
It is crazy.
And we do this out of love, guys. You know, just like the MST3K guys did, just as the Riff Track guys do it. It's a labor of love, you know, to make fun of them. It's like brotherly love. But the movies we're going to be talking about this week are Bloodbeat from 1983 and
Night Train to Terror, 1985.
That's right. Two movies I picked up from Vinegar Syndrome, so if you guys are looking to pick these very obscure films up, you can pick them up from them. I don't know if they're still having their sale anymore, but I love ordering from Vinegar Syndrome, and 1 year I'm hoping that I can do their little subscription thing for like horror and exploitation.
Oh, yeah.
So that I just get every single copy of their stuff in the mail. And just try it out, you know?
Right.
Because I'm willing to watch a lot of crap.
Yeah, you are. Every day.
It's true. I really don't mind. I mean, especially if it's from the 80s.
Right.
If it goes past the 80s, I'm a little less... I don't know why it is. Why is that? Why is it? Is it because trash from the 80s and 90s is better than the trash from today?
See, I don't think so.
I don't
It's
know.
your nostalgia. It's your decade.
Yeah, I'm old.
You are old. He's frowning. It's okay. You're only a little bit older than me.
I think it might be that time.
What time is it?
HORRORSHOTS! All right, guys, so today for the horror shot, we decided to pick the movie Night Train to Terror, an anthology movie that we thought fit because there was a word or a phrase that was said in this movie, and I was like, that's the shot. And she was like, yep.
Yep.
We looked at each other, we locked arms and had an arm wrestle on the ground, and she won. But
Why couldn't we just high five?
I don't know. It just sounded weird. But yeah, so in the movie, there's this B-roll, I call it, but it's actually really what ties the whole anthology together, where God and the devil are sitting there talking. And they mention what the train is because somebody asked them, like, what are we on? And he was like, well, some people call it the highway to heaven, or the train track to heaven.
Yeah, something
or
like
the
that.
railway to heaven.
Right.
And the others call it Satan's cannonball. So today's shot is, of course, Satan's Cannonball.
And it looks absolutely disgusting.
It looks cool as shit, actually. I feel like we actually are like a barista here. Like some sort of, cool people.
It's floating.
So what we did is pretty simple ingredients, guys. What you're going to want to do is you're going to get any kind of vodka that you like. You're going to fill that up. You're going to put your cherry in. It'll fit nestled right in the bottom there. Just get the small cherries, by the way. You don't want to get the big ones because you don't want to fucking choke on it, okay? Because you're going to slam the cherry down too because it's the fireball. Get it? Red, cherry, fireball. Got it. Okay. Now you're going to take some Tapatio, whatever hot sauce that you're really feeling up to it. If you really want to go balls to the wall and burn your esophagus, go for it. Get some Black Widow, whatever the fuck it is.
That white chili pepper or something.
Yeah, like if you want to be like really stupid about it, go ahead and do that. We just put Tapatio because we're not crazy like you fucking amazing people are. Anyway, so we made the shot this time, but we're also going to be putting up a video of us taking a shot later in the week, this week. So when you hear this, stay tuned to our social media on like Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, those 3 places in particular, and Twitter, of course. Did I say Twitter?
You did right now.
Well, now they're going to be on all of them. Right. So, but here's to Night Train to Terror.
Night Train to Terror. Click, click, click.
What do we say? Is there some special thing we should say?
No, let's just take it.
All right. You're going to drink the cherry?
No.
You're going to... Christina!
Try.
You're no fun.
You're not helping. I just want to get over with. Oh, God.
Yeah, you might not want to drink the cherry. I was choked.
That's going to hurt my stomach.
I like it. I used to have these kind of drinks all the time. Vodka and hot sauce. It's good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
En fuego.
Feels like it's going to kill my corona.
Yeah, I don't know about the cherry, by the way, guys. I think that was a bad idea. Maybe just stick a toothpick in it and put it in there to kind of, look nice and then eat the cherry afterwards. Just FYI. But yeah, that was
Satan's Cannonball.
But anyway, guys, so if you would like to try a Satan's Cannonball, all you got to do is go to longlivethevoid.com and check out our hashtag HorrorShots section. Don't forget to follow us on social media so you can see us take the shot and look like idiots or alcoholics, whatever you prefer. But that's it for Horror Shots. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into our flesh and potatoes of
Bloodbeat
from 1983 and
Night Train to Terror
from 1985.
Oh, God.
Right now.
So, Christina, go ahead. You can start up the first one, which we go in chronological order here when the movies came out, because sometimes movies do borrow from each other, and we come across so many damn fucking coincidences on this podcast. We have to now.
So many coincidences.
It's true. We don't even talk about them anymore. They happen so frequently.
Right.
So, go ahead.
So, Bloodbeat is about a woman who lives in deer hunting country in rural Wisconsin, is possessed by the spirit of a Japanese samurai warrior in Wisconsin.
You had struggling a little bit there.
This is a shot.
A
Jesus.
Japanese
samurai warrior
All
in
right.
Wisconsin. The tagline is, "Who can survive its reign of terror?"
Wow, that's terrible.
It is. All right, now I might butcher the director's name, but this was directed and written by Fabrice Apparatus. This was his only movie, the only movie he directed, but he did write a movie called La Grande Frame.
Never heard of it, yeah.
Me either. Let's see. This movie stars Helen Brenton, who plays Kathy. This was her only movie. Terry Brown, who plays Gary. He's only played background character in movies like The Princess Diary, Copycat, and Raising Helen. Claudia Payton, who plays Sarah. Only movie she was in. James Fitzgibbons, who plays Ted. He also did Promoting the Hood from 2008. And there's Dana Day, who plays Dolly. Also, this was her only film.
Okay.
And I have no idea what budget this was. Did you find a budget for this movie?
Did you look for it on Wiki? Because I didn't.
I did, and I didn't find it.
Yeah, then it's not there.
So it's not there.
It's kind of like I don't know. It's weird because like they filmed it here in the United States.
Was it in Wisconsin?
Yeah, it was
they
actually.
did?
Yeah,
that's good.
But they didn't, like, he's from France and he's originally from Vietnam and his father's Greek, he was saying. So it's like all over the place. And his father's also a director, by the way.
Oh, that's
so he
weird.
did his own movies, like on his own with his own production and everything. So he was like all in one. He was doing what most people are doing these days for movies. His father, anyway, was doing back then.
Right.
So pretty interesting. But
what was this your first time seeing this movie?
Yes, 100%. I just took a risk on this one just because, you know, I like the rush, you know? Don't you guys miss going to the store and buying like a CD before you know what it is? And then just, or tape or whatever you want to call it, or a record, even if you're older, you know? And just like kind of wondering what it was about. And then like, you know, yeah, I watched the trailer for this one, but that was about it. I wasn't expecting a lot from this either, so I went into it pretty low expectations. And before we get completely started here, I just want to say I like to find weird, fucked up, odd films, guys. When you've seen a lot of films like I have, you value digging through the trash to enjoy some films that were too weird for literally 95% of the people who watch movies.
Right.
Like, it just becomes this weird fine cheese that you look for. And I don't know why that has happened. I think it's just because I'm open to just seeing so many different crazy, weird, lost gems that, you know, they're not always great. But I realize that some of these are, you know, niche trash. And sometimes trash is gold. So you just got to kind of wade through it to kind of like find what is good or not. So I can share it with you guys and see what you guys think. Because sometimes stuff I don't like, you guys like. And sometimes you like stuff that I think is garbage. So everybody's different. So I just wanted to state that before we get started into these movies.
Thank you for letting me know.
Well, a lot of people don't know what kind of movies these are, you know, and these are definitely low grade, Z grade fucking films, you know.
Beyond.
So watching this, after watching this, I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, seriously. You were even like baffled.
Beyond imagination.
Those are seriously the words I uttered when the credits rolled. And this is just one very bizarre movie. There are no key plot points of why this shit is happening. Logic can be thrown out the fucking door because this movie does not attempt to explain anything
at all.
It really doesn't. And maybe it's all up into interpretation, and this is an interpretive movie because after watching some of the interviews and stuff with the director, he's very meticulous, and you know, he has a way about him that he draws attention to little things that nobody would notice necessarily, but he focuses on them. So maybe he's just very artistic and we don't get the art and we're the stupid ones. I don't know. But I don't know. There might be some sort of hidden meaning under the bad audio that I couldn't make out, because when we first started this movie, the audio was terrible. We could barely hear it. Like, the music was too loud, but the audio was like, for the talking was like really low.
That's right. We couldn't hear him talking.
And we got a pretty decent system, but it, you know, it's a Z grade sort of low grade movie, sort of. I don't think it was intentionally made that way. It just was what they had. But let me just try to describe it to you guys the best way I can. Take a shot in the dark, or in this particular case, a samurai sword stab at what it's about. Essentially, there's this family and they're in the country, backwoods, and they're wizards.
With mind powers.
It's Christmas time as well.
Why not?
Yeah, because why not? Because they don't really explain that either.
Oh, actually, it's because her children were older and they were coming home for Christmas. That's why it's Christmas.
Fair enough. Plus, you know, Christmas is really thick and ripe with magic or some shit. Plus, a girl new to the family has some sort of connection. She's like one of the girlfriend of one of the sons. Of the son. Yeah. There's only one. And she has some sort of connection to a past memory that the mother won't tell anyone about, or even the viewers about. Literally will not tell anybody about what's going on. And the characters are asking, and I empathized with those characters because they kept asking her and she would not tell them. Mm-hmm. I'm like, can you just tell us, the viewer, what's going on here? But let's just say the new girl has this power to summon a samurai that kills as she orgasms. Does that make sense? Good. We're on the same page. Let's move forward. But this movie, it just wanted to be so many goddamn things at once. Even the music was 4 different genres. You got bassy, slow, goth punk, which I started to sing at, remember?
Yeah.
I was singing in some sort of like Bowie-esque gothy voice, like,
right.
And you started cracking up. And I was literally just telling her what was happening on the screen. And she lost it. Then they had like weird alien sci-fi synthy stuff, which was kind of cool. I liked some of this stuff. They even do have some of that classic slasher 80s hits and stabs, like, like, you know, like just weird shit. And then it even gets into violins, classical music, and even Gregorian chants. Yes, this movie has it all. But oddly, the score is pretty much the better thing about it, I think.
Yeah.
So that's just the music, but the beginning is way too slow. Like really boring for about 36 minutes.
Yeah, a long time.
I almost gave up on it. And then the weird stuff started to bubble to the top, and boy, was it weird. They have like sexual, just bizarre, orgasmic fucking scenes as people die. Like... I can only imagine what this actress was thinking the whole fucking time. It was like, if you guys have ever seen Ninja 3, The Domination, where the chick gets possessed by a samurai or a ninja or some shit, it's pretty interesting. But this goes even further. It's almost like very pornographic almost. Like, it's 80s. It's not pornographic. They're not like inserting things. But I'm just saying, like, it felt like a porno.
Yeah, it did.
But maybe if I had some sort of understanding of the movie and what it was trying to tell me, maybe I could have, you know, maybe they could have told the viewer in the first 35 minutes. But no. Okay, then. By the end, maybe? Nope. Not at all. Not going to tell you. You're just going to have to figure it out. It's a riddle. But still, I do have to applaud it just for going out there and being crazy, bizarre family wizards and samurai nonsense. It's purely for people who love odd films, because I think this is probably a hard watch for most people. But if my silly breakdown of the movie sounds interesting to you, then you might want to watch it. Like, seriously, because, like, this is the kind of, like, ammunition I love to put into the podcast. Uh-huh. You know, it's pretty fucking weird.
It's pretty weird.
Like, it's everything, man. I don't know what to say. And it's no gore. That's the other thing. There's a little bit, like, you know, throat slashing, blood applied.
On the wall. We got some blood splatter on the wall.
Yeah, there is little things like that. Some action in it, but a lot of, like, post work where they color the film and make it look like balls of light are coming out of people's hands and weird shit. Mm-hmm. Like, really poorly done, but, like, very unique. Uh-huh. I'd say most people would think this is probably a 2, but I'll give it a 4, maybe a 5, being original and sort of blowing my fucking mind because I've never seen anything like it. It's not a multiple watch kind of film, but I'm glad I own it, and you know, it's worth a watch at least nonetheless. Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
It was okay. It had some good parts, but it was mostly bad, boring parts.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, but weren't you blown away by what was happening and like no explanation whatsoever? And I'm not one of those people, by the way, who need everything to be explained if the atmosphere is good.
Right, but I don't know. I kind of understood what was going on, but I didn't like how they went about doing it.
Okay.
Because I could see how it's confusing.
Okay.
Especially when they bring in the girlfriend.
Well, we'll talk about that in the spoilers a little bit. But.
Okay. It was a slow start, and I really don't like that in the beginning of the movie, because then I lose interest, and it's hard to get my interest back into the movie.
Sure.
But that's just like my personal preference. I understand some stories need to take away and be slow to build the atmosphere, but whatever, this was boring. It was just boring. It wasn't even building an atmosphere.
To me, it's a so bad it's good film, though.
Right.
Because of the overacting. So that score, by the way, that I gave is definitely based on a so bad it's good score, like a 4.
Right.
So.
I loved how they portrayed the killer with the bright lights. in the darkness, showing only the edges of the sword and the shadows in the light. I like that. That was creative.
Yeah, it was kind of stylish in some ways.
Right. Towards the end, the shots were looking like Instagram filters with the glowing and the strobing. It's like the first Instagram filter was in this movie. That's what I kept thinking when they kept showing those parts.
Yeah.
The acting was weird, but so was the story. So
yeah, I mean, the acting isn't great.
Right. And the music, like you said, everything about the music, it was off and it was weird. It just didn't fit. And I won't watch this one again. So I gave it a 4.
Really?
I gave it a 4.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by that. I thought you were going to give it a 2.
Too. I was thinking, I was like, well, I did like
the weird shit.
Yeah, I did like some of towards the end.
Right.
Like the last 20 minutes was okay.
So we give it like a 4. So for my score, because I didn't give it a real score, I'll say 4.5. So we give it a 4.25 together.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, like, I like to mash our numbers together.
Right.
Because it kind of evens it out.
I also don't think they could redo this movie. I don't think they could remake this movie.
Well, I may have some information on that, so stick around for the trivia. So, yeah, I think overall this is just a very niche film for people who are just like to punish themselves with weird shit. Otherwise, I think for the most majority of watchers, if you're not into the 80s or something like that, and you aren't into finding that fine layer of cheese, it might not be for you. But for, us 80s masochists out there, it might be all right.
For you. Yes, for you.
That's me for sure. But if you haven't seen this movie and you don't want anything spoiled or ruined for you and you want to check out this movie, you can check it out on Amazon Prime right now. If you have the subscription to the Amazon Prime account or whatever. And I don't know, it is in the United States, but it should be everywhere, I think. But you can also rent it too, I think, online. So if you need to, you can.
Yeah, there's the internet. You can just look on there.
Definitely check out the trailer first before you know what you're getting yourself into. And take our warning for that. But yeah, if you don't want anything spoiled, we're going to jump into our spoilers and trivia right now. So here's your warning.
This is your warning.
So this movie, like we talked about earlier, is shot in Wisconsin. It was shot chronologically, so how the story was evolving, whatever story that was. No offense to anybody who made it, of course. It's just a little hard to follow along as to what's really happening. Mm-hmm. But the director is very thoughtful and meticulous about the things that were put into the movie, from the decorations you might notice to the forest and nature in the beginning, to say that he loves country and he likes living in the country. It's all there, whether you missed it, understood it, or not. So it's pretty cool. He seems like a really nice guy. He seems just like a very nice person, Mm-hmm. And he said that his father was a movie maker as well, as I mentioned, and he used to sneak him out of school to go watch movies, like fantasy movies, in a theater, like Jason and the Argonauts or 10,000 Leagues, and that kind of nurtured his interest in making films. So also, there's a scene in the movie where somebody jumps out the fucking window. Remember that?
Oh, that's right.
We don't need to get into why. But he jumps out a window. That's actually the director.
Oh.
Because he studied to be a stunt actor as well as an actor, because he wanted to act in movies and film, because his parents were like, you can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So he was like not limited to, you have to be a doctor.
Right.
Or whatever it was. So he just tried a lot of different things. Plus, he was also the samurai in the movie.
He was?
Yeah.
Oh.
He doubled as the samurai in the movie, so I thought that was pretty cool. He also said that after rewatching this film that he felt like it should be remade.
Oh, really?
And that it's incomplete.
Would it be less misogynist?
I don't know. Is it? I don't remember.
I thought it was. Well, yeah, because the son
Oh, yeah, that's right.
was pretty much raping his girlfriend.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was a pretty interesting situation going on there. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, he said that the reason he feels that way is that he would have done things differently, like most directors say when they watch their films, and why they don't like to watch their films, because it feels like it's incomplete to them all the time.
Right.
So
that's kind of standard thought.
I would think, yeah. So there is some scenes in this movie that we're going to talk about. It starts off with a compound bow hunter who's out in the middle of the wilderness trying to catch a deer, and he literally guts it at home. Like,
it's disgusting.
On a tree.
It was real, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell.
This was the only thing that they did not put in the movie in chronological order. In fact, they were like 90% done with the movie, and they hit up the people who pick up the roadkill on the road and said, hey, if you see any deer on the road, you know, can you let us know? We'll come out and pick it up and take it off your hands.
And use it.
And use it in the film.
And hang it from a tree and let it die there and not eat it or anything.
And cut it open. And well, no, I'm sure I don't know if you should eat roadkill, but some people do.
Right.
This is America. But the guy's girlfriend, and I don't know if they're like in a marriage, if they're husband and wife, or he's like the second husband.
No, he's just a boyfriend.
That's what it would seem like, right? Like,
well, yeah, because they had like 2 arguments about getting married, and he wanted to get married, and she didn't want to get married.
But are those his kids? Is what I'm getting at.
No, those aren't his kids, because she said she was very thankful that he was taking care of the kids.
Right.
And he was like, I'm telling those kids we're getting married. I'm getting their permission.
Right. Okay. And then
instead of like taking her no for an answer, he was just gonna, force her.
Well, I don't think he got mad at her. He just got kind of huffy about it and was like, well, I'm going to go outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought
But come on. In movies all the time, it's usually the reverse.
Right.
So at least that, right?
Right.
Anyway, the family comes to their house. The kids show up for the holidays. The son brings his girlfriend, Sarah, who the mom is somehow psychic with. Like, she notices something's off with her and some bad things are going to happen, and like doesn't really welcome her in very quickly and just kind of stares at her scared.
She could sense her energy.
Yeah, she can sense something with her, like they are one and the same, and maybe one has negative energy or bad energy or good energy. It's never really explained.
See, I thought it had to do with the samurai. Like, they both have contact with the samurai.
Yeah, but who the fuck is the samurai, and why would they have contact with one?
It's a curse.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it was a curse. That's why the chest like pops out of nowhere.
Yeah, but why would she have psychic powers, both of them, and why would they both? I
don't know, Alex. You gotta ask the universe.
I don't know, man. I don't think this answer is ever going to come true, and it's never going to come to fruition here. But the boyfriend, this is where it gets a little weird, because the boyfriend wants to have sex so bad, and he keeps trying over and over and over, and the girl senses someone in the room, and it's her mom.
Now, her mom is
his mom. Sorry,
and you notice the paintings on the wall because the mom's a painter, and she could see them through her paintings, and that's why there's another scene later on where the girlfriend wants the paintings taken out of the room.
Oh, wow! You're paying a lot closer attention than I was, I guess.
Yeah, bam.
Jesus Christ. Wow. Great. So why is she able to read through the paintings and see through the paintings, Christina?
Because she's psychically connected to her paint.
Right.
Duh.
So why is she psychically connected to her paint?
Now that is something you have to ask the universe.
Okay, the universe. Okay. Well, we can just run it off as that. Anyway, he decides that he is going to force himself on his girlfriend, and does she give in or not? I don't remember.
Yeah, she gives in.
Yeah, they end up having sex, but they don't show it at this point in time.
Yeah, they didn't show it at that point.
And then they decide that he would bring her to go hunting with the family, which I thought was really weird because she was obviously not wanting to do it. This whole movie's about Sarah not wanting to do things, and
Right.
and her boyfriend clearly not recognizing the hints that she's giving about hunting, sex, or murder.
Exactly.
So he takes her to go hunting, and as the uncle, stepdad, sister, and brother are setting up a shot to kill a deer, she screams, "No!" And the screen like flashes red or something, and they all miss the deer, and she runs off like a fucking, I don't know what the hell. Like, she's booking it, dude. Like, she's I thought that they were going to kill her. Because they were really mad.
They were very mad.
They were fucking
Maybe that's
mad.
why she was booking it, because she was scared. They had guns. And she wasn't
I was
just,
like, is she going to get murdered by her boyfriend?
She wasn't just running. She was like flailing through the woods with her arms up and they're like, woo, 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 woo.
Yeah, it really seemed like they were going to hunt her down and fucking hang her up on the tree and then gut her. Like the deer they did earlier.
So didn't she stumble across a dead body and then the boyfriend showed up? Is that
I don't
what
remember a
happened?
dead body, but she goes to be alone that night. I do remember.
Oh, I thought she stumbled across a dead body on her way running back, and then she screamed, and then the boyfriend came, and then the cops came, and then they went back to their house.
That's right. I think I do remember that.
And they didn't, and they kept saying, "Oh, it was probably just an animal," but it was samurai sword.
That's
gutting.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
I do remember that now.
Which probably happened when they were having sex. Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. It was weird.
Anyway, Sarah goes to be alone that night and finds an old trunk with the ancient samurai suit of armor, while his mom paints all possessed to violin music.
Yeah,
She's like having seizures in front of the painting.
she's painting like black and red everywhere.
Yeah, like she's really putting herself into it, you know,
She
like.
looks like she's having a fucking seizure.
Do you know what it reminded me of? Is that Not Another Teen Movie? You know, where the girl's like painting and she's like throwing paint on it and like angry and yelling and shit.
Oh, I don't remember.
And then
that
he
movie.
comes over to look at it and it's just like stick figures. Anyway, but she's all painting all crazy and Sarah unsheaths the sword and cuts herself and passes out.
And then she wakes from her 4-year coma, and then she goes and tries to assassinate her other assassins that killed her in the church when she was. Oh wait, that's not this movie.
What the fucker?
I was trying to explain the plot to Kill Bill.
Okay, thank you. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I hope somebody caught that.
But they do flash back to some little girl doing the exact same thing, and it's her mom, we gather, because her mom and her are sharing this fucking
samurai vision.
Yeah, I guess that's what you would call it, as a vision or whatever. So it's just really weird. The uncle then breaks down on the road because, like, he just disappears. They don't explain why. He turns around for some murderous close-up of the camera coming at him. And it's like the girl, Sarah, is having this weird convulsion or whatever on the couch while she's sitting there being all awkward with the family. And somehow his throat is cut and then Sarah is infected or something. We see the next thing we do is that she goes up to the room and she's like in the bedroom by herself having an orgasm again. And it seems like whenever the shadow or the swordsman, the samurai swordsman or whatever kills, she's like orgasming. Like it's really obvious,
Yeah,
right?
she's like pelvic thrusting.
I'm not just saying that, like she's not just, that's her way of possession, right?
Right, it's
Or being
possession.
cursed. She's actually having an orgasm,
It
right?
looked like she was, yeah.
Like I couldn't distinguish any other reason why she'd be doing
And
that.
it was
So
weird how they did the scene too, because it's like every time she thrusted, like the sword would kill somebody.
right.
It was really weird.
It kills some nearby neighbor, and this is where we really had a good laugh. Christina actually has some video of it that we're going to post on the Instagram.
Oh my god, I can't remember.
Yeah, we did. It was this part because like there's this wife and husband who's yelling at his wife to get him tea, and so he can sip it on their waterbed, which we were like, oh shit.
Waterbed.
Remember waterbeds?
What year is this? Oh.
But she angrily makes it for him, and of course she forgets his orange juice, or rather tang.
Where's my tea?
Which we almost made a shot out of this based on that, but we
Right.
were like, eh. So she goes out and pours a nice cup of stabbed in the stomach, because the samurai stabs her in the stomach when she goes back to get the juice. And he comes out all pissed off, like, where are you? Where's my orange juice or whatever? And we were laughing. We were laughing because she's like stabbed and bleeding all over the floor. And I was like, oh, look what you did. She got all of the blood all over the because he was such an asshole to her, you know? So,
I mean, he didn't say that.
he didn't say that,
We
but
just
it just,
thought it was something he would say.
his
'cause he was such a
demeanor and his
dick.
attitude towards her before that was very
Right.
much like that. So
Asshole, yeah.
we escalated it in our minds
Yeah.
for the love of laughter. But he gets hunted down, jumps out a window. That's where that part happens.
Oh, that's right.
He like literally charges the window and just jumps out, gets in his truck, and gets hunted down by the samurai. In front of it, he gets stabbed, I think.
Yeah, in front of their house.
Yeah, that's what it was. He gets bowed in the back. He shot him with a bow and arrow.
Bow and arrow, wherever the fuck he got that from.
Well, the samurais have bows and stuff.
Right, but this is when shit goes crazy.
Yeah, this is where the family is like, oh my God, what's that noise? And they go out and they're fucking dead neighbors right there with his eyes open and his face all like with smuckers. It was just paint, actually.
Smuckers.
It was like paint, the old school fucking paint one. But this time you can tell it's a samurai outfit. They like fully show him and it starts making the whole house go full on Pee-wee's Playhouse, like, like I did in Amityville. It was like the kitchen is chucking things at the dad, and the mom is like shaking her hands, looking at the ceiling, like trying to talk to thin air, like like asking, "Who are you? Who are you?" And then like red light comes out of her fucking hands and shoots out of their hands, and I'm like, she is a wizard. But yeah, she somehow wards off the evil from the house, like dispelling all the magical post-production film light that they colored all over the film and quelled the sisters' violent, fearful screaming, which was pretty funny. Remember when they both, like the brother, this is the weird thing. Like, do you remember in this scene? So the brother and the sister are together. They go and hide in a closet, and the light's like trying to open the door, and they're all screaming, and she's freaking out.
Right.
And then he gets out. I think it was either before they go into the closet, he goes to try to get the door for Sarah, his girlfriend, but he's just like, fuck it, because the light throws him back, down the hallway or something like that. And that's when he goes into the closet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nobody gives a shit about Sarah.
Right. They just leave her in the room, but she was fine.
But I guess she's the one causing it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
somehow.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's funny because, like, the sister actually did a pretty good job here, I thought, for acting. Mm-hmm. She seemed genuinely scared.
Yeah.
And she was like, please don't leave. No, don't go out there. Don't go out there. Like, she was like... She was panicking, and like, he goes out anyway. He goes back to bed with Sarah all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, no big deal.
Didn't they have sex?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is the perfect time.
And it's like, he didn't even like ask her like what happened, or did you hear that?
Are you okay?
Hey, the whole house went Pee-wee Herman's Playhouse, and maybe we should talk about it or something.
Get out of here?
Yeah, maybe we should leave or call the police or, an exorcist or whatever the fuck it is.
I gotta get my penis wet.
Yeah. Well, you never know when you get scared, your juices start flaring up.
Super juice.
Wasn't it in that movie where we watched where she's like in Killer Crocodile 2? She's like, well, they say that fear causes the woman's reproductive organs to flare up or some shit.
Yeah, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous.
Anyway, they have full on fucking like sex. And she's, of course, connected to a samurai demon and getting all juiced up by murder. So it's time to fuck, Meanwhile, some random dudes in the wood are by a fire, and one dude like wanders off to pee and gets his throat cut while Sarah's orgasming, riding the dude full breasted.
Oh, that's right.
Remember? Because that's like on the cover.
And then the guy dies, yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. And then the other drunk campfire fellers get picked off, and it's quick and goreless, of course. There's nothing in it. But it's just like, and then it just goes like they go back to sleep. And then it's like in the morning, the dad takes one of the bodies in his truck, and I'm thinking to myself, like, dog, maybe you shouldn't be touching the body, like your neighbor.
Not a crime scene?
Yeah, it's country out there, it's back in the 80s when they weren't doing that CSI.
Oh, when it was okay to kill people in the middle of the woods.
I'm just saying, like, if there was a dead body, I ain't touching it.
Right.
And then maybe if you are out in the middle of nowhere, which supposedly this place was in real life, because they stayed on a farm like 3 miles away from this farm to shoot it or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just wouldn't touch a body.
No.
It's like whenever I watch, I can't remember what it was, but there was this movie, something by the water, where like, I think it was a piranha, where they buried the guy for him. He was like, oh yeah, I just went ahead and buried him for you. Like, well, dude. You got to call the police on that shit and get the coroner down here or something. Anyway, he goes to take one of the bodies, I guess, to the police or whatever. And there's this really odd, like seriously bad acting scene where the daughter comes barging into her mom's like art studio and suddenly has a mind power battle with mom. But it's so bad.
It was really bad.
It was really bad.
It was just glowing lights. I didn't even know what was going on for a minute. I'm like,
I was like, you did a really good job of seeing fearful, but pretending you have psychic powers, you are terrible at this. Yeah.
Fail.
She looked like she was about to fart. Not having like
she was taking a shit.
They do that in these movies though with mind powers, don't they? They always like look like they're straining and they're about to take a shit.
Yeah.
Remember The Mind's Eye when we watched that and they were like floating and he was like, and it's like he's taking a mean shit right now. Anyway, sorry guys, I'm being childish. Anyways, after that, I'm just like confused.
Right.
It's like they know that they have powers.
Yeah, all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Yeah, like they never did before.
When they could have saved people.
Right. Then both the kids, Dolly and Alan, the boy and the girl of the children, see the samurai who actually sees in the colors red and blue. Like it's like the Predator or some shit, you know what I mean? Like back in the 80s or whatever. Uh-huh. And it's all to some serious, like, gothy, slow punk music.
Oh, this was the part. Yeah. Yeah, I wrote that down too. You were making me crack up.
We had fun watching it. That's what I'm saying. We make it fun.
Right.
But then the dad shows up and he tries to help them and he swings an axe at the glowing samurai and hitting it into a pile of samurai clothes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. The armor.
I'm like, damn, that was simple.
You guys should have done that like an hour ago.
Nobody would have died if you would have figured it out, I guess.
I thought it was funny. He picked up the armor and he brought it back in the house and the mom's like, you need to get rid of that, burn it. And he's like, no way, somebody could use this.
No, that's when he realizes that, we should wait for the police to look at it. And it's like, well, why are you touching everything? Dead bodies, murder fucking shit. And what are they going to do? Check it for ectoplasm? Like, I don't know what's going on here.
I thought that was weird.
Like what the fuck? And that's a bad mistake, of course, for leaving it around the house because then he comes back.
Right.
And she Sarah puts her hand over a photo of their mother and for some reason it just burns.
With her mind powers.
Oh.
And then Alan sees her do it and he's like, what the fuck? So clearly he doesn't know about these powers and neither does the child, but they're all treating it like it's all normal. Like everything is just normal.
Right.
I don't know.
The whole ending was weird.
And then she has like blue light come out of her hands and makes him cross his eyes and chucks him back at the door, which is kind of funny. I was like, lame. I thought he was going to pop his head. Remember? We were hoping for a Scanners moment or something.
Right.
But then the mom walks past a door hearing a voice in like this alien voice. And you hear, hello, sister, do you remember? You can barely hear it. It's like really garbled. Uh-huh. But he says, hello, sister, do you remember me? And the mom's all like acting really bad saying, you can't destroy me. And the voice is saying, you can't stop me with your God powers. Your God powers. Like what? Your good powers or something, right? Was it good powers?
I thought they said good powers.
Yeah.
Okay.
While I don't know, it's just weird. And then meanwhile, Dad's head is about to explode outside randomly when he's like walking out with a knife to stab the samurai, but dies in the room because he goes up to the room and she's like, oh no, don't kill him. And the samurai sticks the sword in him. It like flies out of his hand into him. And then the mom gets stabbed too.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And that's when all of a sudden, and this is the most bizarre part, is Alan and Dolly, the sister and the brother, walk in and start shaking.
And they turn blue.
I got the power of Jesus walking through me. I got the power of Jesus in me. Come help me, Jesus. Help me. Help me. And like they fucking fire wizard balls out of their hands and banish the fucking samurai.
Lame.
I don't know, man. I don't even understand.
I think I want to change my score to a 2.
I don't think so. It's just so bizarre.
Ugh.
I don't know. It's just like this fucking movie. Like, what the fuck? And that's it. That's the end of the movie.
Right.
Don't they like walk outside because like some of the footage got destroyed because of some mold or something? So they used existing footage from like a VHS tape and then cut it into the end.
Right. And you could totally tell.
And they go out to the tree where the deer was hanging or something like that.
Right.
And then the credits roll,
yeah,
right?
That was it. They're like, oh, we better put this hanging deer to use.
What the fuck, dude? Like, this movie was fucking wild. And I thought I'd seen all of it yet just then. I was like, man, that was some bizarre shit.
It was bizarre.
Oh, but little did Alex know. Little did Christina know what we were going to watch next.
We got one more.
So we got another movie that we're going to talk about, and that is...
Night Train to Terror.
From 1985. So go ahead, spit out the knowledge.
God and Satan are on a train discussing the fate of 3 individuals. The stories of the people in question are told in a trio of very strange stories. One involves an insane asylum with some very interesting treatment plans. Oh, God. Another involves a death club. The final story shows us the adventure of a server of Satan. The tagline is a one-way ticket to hell and beyond.
Beyond.
So, since there is 4 segments in the film and there's 5 directors credited. The first director did the segment The Case of Claire Hansen, Craig C. Tallis.
Okay.
He's a film director from Greece, and this was his last film, and he has 14 other credits, and they're all films from Greece that I can't pronounce. Okay, John Carr did the segments The Case of Harry Billings, and he also was involved in The Case of Greta Connors.
Mm-hmm.
He has directed The Dark Side of Love from 1984 and Dead Girls Don't Tango from 1992, which I've heard of.
Okay.
Philip Marshak, he did the segment for Claire Hansen. He also did Dracula Sucks from 1978, Lust Fight 2000 from 1978 as well. Tom McGowan, who did The Case of Claire Hansen as well. He's done a lot of documentaries and a few episodes of Wide World of Disney.
Oh,
you know that,
really? Okay.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Kind of interesting for that movie in particular, because that one's like a dark Disney past, I guess.
Right. Right. Okay, Jay Schlossberg Cohen. He did the segment The Night Train, which was the inner
the God and the Devil.
Right.
Yeah.
Part. He also directed Cry Wilderness from 1987. This movie was written by Philip Jordan. He did a movie called Dillinger from 1945, which is weird because I just listened to the last conspiracy theory on John Dillinger. So
right.
And this is a movie about him, so I thought that was...
I remember you talking about that, yeah.
Yeah. He also did Dead Girls Don't Tango from 1992. He wrote that. And he also wrote The Unholy from 1988.
Oh, The Unholy. Okay.
Yeah.
That I know a lot. That's one we've never done on this show.
Oh,
and I
is it
think it's a
good?
Vestron release. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We never did pick it up, but you might not be able to anymore, but it might be on Prime or something. So we'll see. Maybe we'll add it to the list.
So there's a lot of characters in this movie, so I'm just going to go through the main standout actors.
Yeah, you don't have to do them all. There's too many.
There's too many. So Tony Gallego, who plays Satan, he's also been in The Godfather. He was Bruno in The Godfather, the original. He was in Magnum Force, that Clint Eastwood movie, and he was also in American Me with Joe Pesci.
Okay.
Freddie Main plays God. He was also in The Fearless Vampire Killers from 1967, Conan the Destroyer, Warlock, The Armageddon, and he was also in one of your favorite franchise films.
Howling 2.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch. I'm just kidding.
The most recognizable person in this movie is Richard Mole, who plays James Hansen, and he also plays Otto.
Yeah, he was in Night Court. That's how I always remember him.
Yeah, that's how everybody remembers him. He did a really good job in that.
He was the bailiff, if you guys ever watched that show. And for you young folks out there, hey, I'm old.
I don't even think Night Court's on any of the streaming services.
I don't even know, man. That used to be a
either.
very popular show.
It was. But he's also really known for he's done a lot of voice work and video games.
Oh, okay,
So,
cool.
just so you know. All right. We also have, we have John Philip Law as Harry Billings. He was in Barbarella, Space Mutiny, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Mark Lawrence, who plays Mr. Weiss, and he also plays Dieter. He was also in The Man with the Golden Gun from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, wow.
He played the motel owner in Dusk Till Dawn. Diamonds Are Forever. He was in 4 Rooms, which we talked about.
That's funny. Yeah,
last
that's funny.
week, yeah. And he was in End of Days, which I totally forgot about that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And that's good. That's plenty.
Okay.
Like, we could keep going, but it's interesting that there's all these people in here anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters.
Like, we could keep going because anthologies are really hard, and there's a lot of characters in each of these stories.
Right.
And there's a lot of trivia on it, too, as to why this whole fucking movie got made.
Uh-oh.
You guys are definitely going to want to stick around for that. It's bizarre. I'll explain a little bit in my thoughts, but what did you think?
I thought Night Train of Terror was a roller coaster. It was, oh my god, it was so up and down. It starts off with you like having absolutely no idea what's going on. They don't explain anything.
Another movie, just back to back, we watched 2 movies that don't explain shit.
Right. But this one, I think this one, it was kind of worse in both ways. It was worse to me. You didn't know what was going on in the train. You have no fucking clue what's going on in that first story.
There's a reason, I'll tell you.
But
You'll be like, what the fuck?
But then it gets better. But then it did get better, and it was worth sticking through the first part to get to the end.
Okay.
It also started off with a lot of boobs, and then it ended with a religious type story.
There was a lot of boobs in this movie.
In the beginning, yeah. It was out of control, I thought. There are many really cringy moments in the film.
To say the least.
And there is no way they would be able to remake this movie now.
I mean, if they did, it would be fucking a lot of work. I mean, it'd be kind of cool. I don't know. Some of the stuff they did, but I'll explain more when...
But I did like the concept, so they could remake it.
Yeah.
But just use the concept with the train and that kind of stuff. But I thought it was okay. I give it a 6 out of 10.
Really? So what did you think of each, like, so the first segment, the second segment, and the third segment, if you had to give them a score?
3, 2, 1.
Really? So you like the first one? You like the last one first?
Yep.
Second one second,
Yeah.
and then so backwards.
Yeah.
Do you know in other countries, in the UK, they played it the other way?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that the first one was actually the last one.
Huh.
I thought that was weird, too.
And what did you think, Alex?
Like, it's very clear we picked both of these films for a reason. Like, they definitely belong in this bizarre 80s what the fuck category together. Like, honestly, like, it's a little hard as a double feature that we watch back
really
to back, but I do think this one is slightly better. It just feels more creative, and there's a lot more in it, much more ridiculous as well as than the last, and it has more of those nuggets, those like showpieces of like deaths and gore and stuff that kind of carry you along, even if it's a shit movie. So I appreciate that. The story with the God and the devil, riding on the train to discuss 3 different stories like an anthology would, it's kind of weird. Like I don't really, it's okay. It's kind of an interesting concept to do, but they never really explain anything about it, and it was kind of like, I don't know, it's not exactly organized really well here, guys. You'd think that a storyline based around each character, that they're like God and the devil are talking about each character and battling for their soul, that each character would be delved into deeper for this case file that they keep talking about. But no, they're all about the other characters that they choose to loosely connect to the person that the case is about, almost as if like they tried to find a way to connect each of these stories afterwards because they didn't plan it. That's what I thought, when I was watching this. Which the reason why it's so fucking confusing is after we watched it and I did the research and everything like that, the anthology is a compilation of 3 previously released full-length films.
Well, but there's the same actors in some of the...
It doesn't matter. They're all part of the same little, they're actual films. Like, there's an unfinished film called Scream Your Head Off, which is the first story.
That makes sense.
Then there was Death Wish Club, which is from 1983, aka The Dark Side of Love, Carnival of Fools. That's the Greta one. And then they have Cataclysm from 1980, aka The Nightmare Never Ends, Satan's Supper, I guess is another name.
Weird.
That they did for the Claire Hansen segment, which is the last one that we watched. So, you know, there is definitely a lot of confusion going on here because I don't know why they decided to do that. Maybe those movies, they wanted to gotta get out there and like resurface it, or they were just trying to milk it to make money. You know, because now I'm kind of curious if we watch those other movies, you know, just on our own, just to see what it was like, you know. But that also explains why the first movie was so jumbled, because they tried to condense it. But there's some pretty funny and fun, so bad it's good scenes in this one, I'd say. A lot of gore, practical, you know, masks, puppets, claymation thrown about. Oh, and a hell of a lot of sex. Lots of boobs and blood, you might say. So, with a really convoluted plot for each of them. The last case was probably the easiest to understand and kind of like had a real story. And the first being the most confusing. And it's like, it goes from really confusing to understanding versus the segments.
Right.
So I'm probably in the same order as you.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. It's just weird because it just made it really confusing for me as a viewer. And it seemed like they didn't give a fuck about what the viewer would think and wondering what is happening. You know what I mean? Like, it just really, I don't know. But even though it's kind of messy and not well organized, you get to see a lot of what the fuck blaze across the screen faster than you can understand. Like, it's balls out weird and what the fuck, definitely worthy of some love, even if it's fucking a mess structurally. Like, it's still has those showpieces in the film that are packed with a punch. You know, some really pretty cool death scenes too. If you can kind of look past all the flaws and you're just kind of looking for those kind of moments in a weird movie that, you know, like if you're a gore hound and you kind of want to watch this movie, or a So Bad It's Good fan that you don't want to have to pay too close of attention to and just kind of want to be bewildered as to how this even got made, you should be pleased. I even like the claymation and the puppets. Shit had me rolling a couple of times. And just be prepared. There is one song in this movie that literally pops up every fucking 20 minutes or so.
And what is that song?
It's on the train. They have this band performing, or rather dancing and lip syncing, for about like 3 minutes each time. And you'll know the song well if you didn't load a shotgun by the end of the movie. So it's dance with me, dance with me, dance with me. Everybody's got something to do. Everybody but you. All right.
And you're going to hear this for the rest of the episode.
No, but I was singing it today, like around the house.
Just dancing around the house.
We were dancing together, actually. It's out of control. Hey, we can make fun of ourselves, right?
Right.
But yeah, they play that song a fucking lot, guys. Like, it's really bad. I mean, it's not a bad song. Like, it's catchy. It's not something I would like.
It's not really fitting for the movie, but
no, it doesn't make any sense.
It's totally 80s though.
Like, I don't know. I'd hate this movie if I could, but it's still a pretty decent find for a what the fuck movie. It's more of a novel sake that it was made off of other films, probably to help sell the movies it's made from. So, you know, I don't know. It gets points for catching me off guard and sprinkling weird, shitty horror treats through the whole fucking train ride. You know what I mean? So I'd say like this movie's probably like a 5.5 or a 6 for the S-Big scale on this one. It is really out there. Some people like really love this film.
Really?
Yeah, they like really like, they'll give it a 7, 8, or 9, or 10 even. Like, I've seen people just like go bananas over this movie, and it's just one of those weird movies. But for me, 5.5, 6 at the most. It's a Z grade film. It's just 3 weird bad movies condensed into segments to make some weird fucking anthology. And if you like finding weird shit, you love the 80s, and you don't mind being confused, but also treated with really weird, gory, and bloody deaths, then this is for you. If you can't get into these types of films, it'd probably be like a 3 or lower. But for people who can't stomach these kinds of films, stay away. So either way, you're going to be scratching your head going, what the fuck, even if you love it. So it doesn't matter either way. But yeah, so you gave it what?
6.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, we're like in tune lately. What's going on?
I don't know.
I don't like this.
I don't either.
You're supposed to be different than me. You're supposed to hate everything, and I like everything.
I'm uncomfortable.
Anyway, so technically we gave this movie a 5.75 or 6, you know? Like, that's pretty damn.
Just say 6.
I don't know.
Points.
I'm struggling
Points.
with it, you know? Like, I struggle with it a little bit because, like,
And
it is a
that's
movie I'll watch again and I'll remember for being so fucking blatantly obvious, but it kind of takes away from it a little bit that they borrowed it from all these other movies. I feel like just getting those other movies and watching them. But maybe it's the condensed best parts of all of them.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe it's a good thing it made you want to go watch these other movies.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I think 5.75, suck it, Christina. We got to be a little different.
Points. Like, we're not doing fucking algebra and shit.
I don't know. I just think it's a good, I think that's a fair assessment of these movies or these segments of an anthology. I think it's pretty fair. But we do have some trivia and some spoilers to talk about. This is going to be a little bit of a lengthy thing. So for you big time fans out there that want to have a laugh and hear us talk about some weird shit, you can watch this movie on Tubi TV. So if you want to watch that on there, or you can rent it, I think, too. So if you want to get the best copy or not watch commercials, you can do that too. But I would highly recommend checking this out and then coming back and listening to us pretty much just have an insane amount to say about this fucking insane fucking movie. So if you don't want anything spoiled, here's your warning. So this film was given an X rating, by the way, by the MPAA after it was screened for them.
Well, I could understand.
I mean, it's not that bad. I wouldn't call it X.
Do you think they took out a lot of sex scenes?
No, I think this is the uncut version.
Oh.
Unless there's another version floating around where they penetrate. But I would assume that that's X-rated, right?
Right.
Or no, I don't remember anymore because you don't hear about X ratings anymore.
Right.
But the first part, or in some versions, the third part of this anthology film is the case of Harry Billings, like I said, in the UK. So, and in fact, the UK has like 4 minutes and 27 seconds where they cut out all the nudity from the film. So,
wow.
Yeah, because it was just too much, they thought.
Understandable.
Yeah. After the movie was made, and there's really not a lot of trivia on this, guys. Like, I didn't want to listen to 2 different commentaries on the film again. Like, I mean, one time's enough for me, you know, but I did look up a few things here and there. And Ferdy Mayne, who played God, he's an established actor. You know, he'd been doing a lot of different stuff.
Right.
He sent the director, Jay Schlossberg Cohen, a letter admitting that he was a little embarrassed by the movie after he saw the final finished version of the film. I mean, I don't blame him.
Right.
It's not exactly well put together.
Right.
But I still think it's like the death scenes and stuff are pretty cool.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
We're pretty much going to just jump into our scenes right now, guys. So buckle the fuck up and get ready for us to make some jokes. Because the movie opens up with that 80s jam that we were talking about, the dance routine.
Dance with me, dance with me.
They kind of establish why that happens. Here's a quote from the movie. Some guy's like, I really wish our bus hadn't broken down, you know? And like the dancer's like, no way. I think this train is cool. And then the rock singer's like, from the top. And then the song starts playing, you know?
Just like real life.
It's like this is like one of the 5 times that you hear the song play in the movie. Like,
right.
It's pretty crazy. And then God and the devil are on a train. They have a conductor guy who's like kind of like purgatory or something. Isn't that what he is or something?
I just thought he was a conductor.
Yeah, but they talk about purgatory and like putting somebody in 100 years of purgatory and that the train is going to crash and that's going to be the end of the world or something. I don't really understand.
I don't understand either. It didn't make any sense.
So, but the first case, like we said, Harry Billings, he and his wife crash on their wedding night off a bridge, which has the same stock footage from like I've seen in like 3 or 4 other films. Like literally that is the same stock footage that I've seen. Anyway, he's put in an asylum. They don't explain why. And she's dead in their basement, nude, by the way. And they're doing experiments or something on them. It's confusing because it just keeps flashing back to Mr. Billings, who gets shock therapy. And I assume that we're living out his thoughts. Like he's like in a bar and then in a church and then another couple stops to use the phone at the asylum and they get trapped. And then I'm like, what is happening?
I don't even know what was going on there.
That's because the movie was cut down from an hour and a half into a 20-minute segment.
You screw a plot.
Exactly.
Screw reasoning. We need more boobs. That's what they were thinking.
Yeah, they made sure those were in there, though, because, you know.
Every fucking scene.
But we keep seeing a guy going around raping and killing women, which is the bailiff from Night Court, Richard Mole. And one scene involving a room full of body parts being, like, shipped out somewhere. And, like, I'm like, is this a dream? Like, what's going on? And apparently there's this operation where they rape, murder, and then sell the body parts of all the semen-coated body parts around the world.
And you still have no idea what's going on.
I don't know who's going to buy body parts in a box, literal fucking box.
Hannibal.
Did they even put it in plastic bags, or were they just sticking them in
They're
boxes?
Just sticking them in boxes. No
That's so
coolers
funny.
Or anything. And didn't some guy have like a lobotomy?
I think so.
Oh, the doctor, yeah.
Oh, that's right. It was one of the guys that was like trying to undermine the other doctor.
Yeah. So she did a lobotomy on him.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
I didn't fucking understand what was going on. So then all of a sudden, and then
the woman doctor who kills him and makes him go in a lobotomy, she's the one telling Harry that she's supposed to help him, and she's getting all sexual with him and like touching his chest and like being all, I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then he breaks out and cuts Richard Mole's head off, which was pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was the first like real gory scene other than the body parts.
Right. Even though you don't understand what the hell, why.
Well, yeah, it was really choppy, dude. That was the choppiest, shortest one, too. But then they go back to the God and the Devil train, the Satan's cannonball. They're arguing over the band that did the number in the beginning. And God's saying they don't belong in hell just because they don't pray. They have touching songs. That's what he said. I'm like, is that how it works? Just gotta write some touching songs, you know?
Dance with me. They started singing.
That's what they started. They go right back into the kids.
Singing, and then next story.
Everybody's got something to do. Everybody but you.
It sounds like doesn't it sound like a commercial? Like they're drinking Pepsi, like a Pepsi commercial?
It seems like a very, very hokey kind of thing.
Totally.
Yeah, but I mean, it's catchy, you know, so... then they talk about the next case, which is Greta Connors. And Greta Connors, there's a dude that slips like $400 in this popcorn girl's shirt at a carnival. And she's supposed to be playing this really young girl. And he's this rich millionaire who just likes to use people and like fucking turn them into porn stars, apparently, because that's what she becomes.
That's what happened.
Yeah. And she's like, hey, you can't buy me. And then he's like, oh yeah, here's another. And she's like, okay.
Off she goes. And then I'm a porno star.
Yeah, and then apparently the guy who bought her, she stays around for the money but never gets her fame, so she wants to be a movie star or something, and that's why he turns her into a porn star, because it's like this halfway thing for her.
Yeah,
and get this, okay, so the guy, somewhere at a bar in the same town that these movies are being made, they're hanging out at a local bar where a bunch of dudes are watching reel-to-reel porn, because, you know, that's how we do it. Like nothing drinking and jerking off your friends when you're down in the hole in the wall down the street, you know. It's like, is that how it used to be?
I don't know.
Like when you're watching porn, it's not like entertaining. Do you know what I mean? Like what are you watching? Like
I don't. But have you ever fallen in love?
Yeah.
With the girl?
Right. He falls in love with the fucking porn star, which is the girl. The popcorn girl.
I need to find her. And he does.
Right. Yeah. And you know, random dude falls in love with Greta because he sees a porno film, love story, you know, like any good dude, he goes out and stalks the shit out of her to find her and where she's working, and, you know, easily just stares at her across the room, and she's they're supposed to be playing piano, right?
Right.
Isn't she some performance?
Yeah, she wants to be a musician, like a classical musician or something. That was her whole...
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, it's just a huge jump. They stare at each other. They don't even have she comes over to him, and the next thing, they snap, and it's the day before they're getting married, or they got married. And they're living in a house together, and he's like, where's this piano from? And she's like, oh, some guy gave it to me. And he's like, well, what the hell? Why would
guys just give me things? I don't know why. She said that, didn't she?
Yeah. And the movie, it's funny because that whole scene where it cuts to it, she's playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I immediately I'm like thinking to myself, like, she doesn't play piano really.
Obviously.
She was like, well, actually, I know how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. And they were like, well, yeah, we'll use that.
You're hired.
You're hired, yeah. So they're like, we'll use movie magic to make you seem like a genius. And this is a fucking person who does topless fucking piano playing. You'd think she'd be pretty good at it. Mary Had a Little Lamb isn't exactly, it's like the first song you learn.
It isn't like Beethoven or anything.
I would be impressed. I would go to that bar. Anyway, he suggests that they go out to eat together and like doing the sweet guy thing, right? And she's like, I have all I want to eat right here.
Oh.
You just keep getting it up and then bam, sex. It's like, wow, they have a really solid relationship. It's a really strong foundation. The bond there is really strong, especially after that 2-year jump cut, that we got in the movie. So,
and that's how they ended up at the Death Club.
Yes, which the Death Club, my God. Oh my God. They have a club complete with Kool-Aid on the table, by the way. Did you notice?
Yeah, I did notice that. I was like, they have Kool-Aid.
Delicious. But it's a club for people who've come close to dying, so they tempt fate to get close to it again.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Like death junkies.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I got a rush off of that, so now I need to get another rush. Where am I going to get my next fix? And they don't even do drugs. They just that's how they get off.
They do these wild things like roulette. Like,
it's like Crash, that movie Crash. You remember?
No.
Yeah, David Cronenberg movie, I think it was, where they like get a rush from getting in an accident, almost losing their life. So they like fuck, they like fuck in the car.
Right. Okay.
And there's like Rosanna Arquette and then James Spader and shit, all like making out with that one dude. I can't remember. It was a weird movie, not the Crash movie with the like, political.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
Yeah, not that one. No. This was the fucking cool thing though, right? Like they pull out this what do they call it? A Tanzanian death beetle, which looks a hell of a lot like a wasp.
Yeah, it looked like
a giant wasp.
It's like a murder hornet. They knew what was up.
The seal has been broken.
But it's like all claymation and stupid. But they even actually made like a practical effects one, right? So it was like a puppet or something.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was a puppet. It was
I don't
all up
remember.
in their faces.
It was just definitely. It has a stinger, so it's definitely not a beetle. It's claymation, and if anyone moves, this is their thing. They're like, if anyone moves, either to attract it or dissuade it, then you lose. But the beetle flies around the room like in 15 frames per clay second, and like it lands on someone's arm here and there, and then eventually flies out the window, which everybody was like, oh God, we made it. We're good. Yeah, everything's good. And like, I'm thinking to myself, like, why is Greta and her recent boyfriend or husband or whatever they are hanging out at this? Why would he even tolerate this?
Yeah. It's weird.
Because he owns her?
He doesn't want her to leave him?
I guess. I don't know. But Glenn, the guy who is Greta's boyfriend or husband or whatever, he gets pissed and he gets up, but they like follow the beetle out the window. The camera does or whatever. And there's like another couple like fucking out in the garden or something like that. And it stings the dude's face, and his face swells up and pops on the girl.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool.
Disgusting.
I was like, yes, more of that, please.
Right.
I don't care how ridiculous it looks. But they mentioned that, Myers, the guy who's like bought the girl and everything, doesn't want Glenn around, but he plays nice anyway. That's what they were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious, like, what this whole movie would be like. Would you watch this kind of thing?
Oh, the whole one?
Yeah, because I wonder if they have like more death scenes and stuff. Because there was like characters that weren't there anymore and then they pop up.
Right, I don't know. So then go to the super death computer.
Yeah, dude, that shit was hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny. So they like hooked themselves up almost like the electrical chair.
Yeah.
That's what it had, the head thing.
They put the ring around their head.
Right. Did they call it the super death computer?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
It even like had a face and shit, which was weird.
So then the computer like randomly chooses somebody to electrocute.
It was
much?
like talking too, right?
Yeah, I forget what it was saying. Did you write that down?
Yeah, it's basically like death robot roulette.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody wears the heads, the bands around their head, and then it spins for each person. It's like, okay, your turn. And then if it's green, they get a light shock.
Mm-hmm.
If it's red, then they get the full blast.
Right. And the one guy got the full blast, and his head just started melting.
Yeah, which was pretty awesome.
It was pretty cool.
It kind of looked like he like crumpled up like a fucking raisin or something like that.
They obviously like melted a doll head or something.
Did you catch what he said right before he died too?
What'd he say?
So the one guy gets picked and he's like, "Miss Marshall, excuse me while I smoke." And then,
I missed that.
And then he's like screaming and shaking constantly, and like you could see sparks shoot out of underneath his eyes, like because it's obviously not a real person, but it's like it just looks kind of cool.
Right.
And then the guy telling the story, there's like some voice. I guess it's the guy, Glenn.
It's the conductor. It's somebody in the train.
Oh, okay.
Who's narrating?
Okay. But they finally leave Mayor because like they decide that he's bad for them or something, and they go to get married the next day, and that's when they flash back to the scene where she's at the piano and them banging and getting naked, and they get woken up by a bunch of thugs who show up at the house and try to attack him in like this really shitty fight scene.
Right.
And that ends with them throwing a fucking tiny net on him.
That's right.
A fucking Batman fucking tiny net, dude. Like, it's not even big enough to cover him.
It was ridiculous.
They were like, well, this will work. I'm like, dude, this is cartoonish. Like, what is going on? So then it looks like Myers isn't happy about her leaving, so the Death Club has another game to play where a wrecking ball is put in the center of a room on a rope. And every time they push it, like this thing pushes it around in a circle, and it will touch these sharp, I don't know what they were. They were like clippers. Mm-hmm. You know when you do the hedge clippers?
Yeah.
It was like there's two blades that slide next to each other, and they're kind of sharp.
Right.
But they set them up on two sides of the room so that every time the rope passed on this 10,000-pound fucking ball, that's a wrecking ball. Right. It gets pushed by a motor to spin around, and while they all lay in sleeping bags on the ground so that it'll fall on one of their heads. And each, it's so stupid, but it's kind of cool.
Stupid. It reminded me like a cartoon.
Yeah, it's like a Batman thing. That's what it reminds me of.
Really, yeah, this whole thing was.
Like if they didn't show the gore.
Right.
Like those are like Batman, like fucking, oh, Batman, what are we going to do? I don't know. Like we got to save him or something, you know? But there's this one guy who's like all into it. He's like really into it, and he's just laughing the whole time.
Yes, squish my head.
Yeah.
Squish my head.
And then like it falls on some chick's head, and she's all crazy too.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, and it crushes her head and splashes fucking Glenn's face.
Do you think they would get sad if it like missed and it fell like in between two people?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, but what if it rolled? It would probably crush their head anyway. It's 10,000 pounds.
I don't know, but it might like jump over the thing, and then it's just total waste.
Right. I was thinking that too, but this is a movie, so yeah. But then they just cut. That's it. That's the end of the segment. And then the God and the Devil are like talking about how Greta and the Devil's pissed he didn't get Greta. Well, God says you can't have her because she became good in the end.
Right.
And the conductor says the train is called, that's where he says the train is called the Heavenly Express, but others call it Satan's Cannonball. And we were like, ding.
We were like, ooh, that's a horror shot.
So then the next case, the last final case, guys, don't worry, it's almost over, I promise you. Our painful dialogue will soon end. Okay, so the next case, Claire Hansen, that's the name of the person that they're battling for her soul. Mm-hmm. She's a doctor,
Right.
And she's dreaming all of a sudden about Nazis who are eating food. And then a guy comes in and says, "You aren't meeting the quota." And then shoots the violinist behind them. He's like, "Now your quota is filled." I'm like, oh, God.
Just like the cops.
Jesus.
Sorry.
Wow. But she wakes up all scared. And next we see an old Jewish man, I presume, although it's very kind of problematic in that department because they
totally put a nose on him.
Yeah, like a fake nose and like all this it's like very character-esque.
Yeah, which would not fly.
Yeah, it would not fly these
nowadays.
days, but back in the day, they did stuff like that. But he sees like the same Nazi who killed a lot of people on the TV. So he tells the cops, and the cop is like, "Well, I can't do anything about it because the guy hasn't aged in 35 years." He's like, "They're not going to believe me when I say that." And
he wouldn't even investigate it. It's like, I know you're a cop, but come on.
Well,
don't
they
be
do
so
go
lazy.
investigate it because he's watching the show live on TV. He sees like the mic in front of him. They go down to where it's being filmed, and then they question the guy or see him. And then he's just like, "Yeah, I can't do anything about it." And then the guy, the old Jewish man, he takes it into his own hands. But he goes out there to try to kill that guy, and he goes in the house, but I don't know how the hell he knew where he lived, first of all. It's beyond me how he figured that out the same night. And he goes in and sees like this weird monster, and then the young Nazi who ends up shooting him instead, and you see the bullet come out his back. It's really confusing. Mm-hmm. It like flashes this weird demon woman's face, and then I don't know if he's one and the same or like what's going on.
It's so funny too. Through this whole segment, I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with this Clara Hansen doctor? Like,
right.
really,
She's like in it for 10 seconds, and then everything else is about everybody else. Yeah. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. So, but now that you said it was a different movie. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So Richard Mole returns in this one, by the way, too. He's the husband of Claire Hansen, and he's writing a book called God is Dead, and he wants to build a society without God, without having to worship some sort of God. Mm-hmm. And he's an atheist, basically.
Right.
So he doesn't believe in either or. There's this random guy that just shows up at his door, a Mr. Papini, and he tries to sway him. He's like telling him that he's headed towards hell. And he tells him to get the fuck out of his house. And then later, outside at night, Mr. Papini is eating by a dumpster when like 6 officers like harass the shit out of him. He's like, they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm protecting Mr. Hansen from the devil," which then the officers start scuffling and grabbing him. And one of the officers is like, "Hey, watch my glasses," in this funny voice.
Wait, do it again. Say it again.
"Hey, watch my glasses." That's what he said. That's how he said it.
That is. Those little tiny things.
I don't know, but that was like kind of weird. And then they put him in, I think the next up we see that old young Nazi guy at a club, and he like picks up a girl. This is the freaky part. This was really weird. He picks up this girl, he takes her back to his place, and she's in bed already, like completely nude, sipping on some champagne, and he's sitting in a chair across from her. And then it's almost like they're like ready to, get it on or something. I don't know why they're like chilling, like how did it get to that point? But anyway,
she must have took her own clothes off.
He starts taking off his shoe all slow, and she looks down and it reveals a weird hairy ass cloven hoof.
And she started screaming.
She's
like,
all scared.
Did she start running? Like she was running down the hall?
I think she gets hit or something, but she gets dumped out on the curb elsewhere. Because there's this guy that's like, he's like, "I'm waiting for her. I don't care. I'm waiting for her until she gets back."
Oh, that's right.
Like some guy that liked her, and he's mad that she went off with some other dude. Mm-hmm. And then she gets dumped out on the curb right by him.
So does this guy just like pick up chicks to show him his one hoof?
I know. And why the fuck did he show his hooves to her anyway and let her live?
Yeah, what the hell? I don't think Satan works like that.
Her friend, she's all fucked up about it and heads to his house to like snoop around when a statue comes to life in like full 15 frames per second of claymation glory. and it steps on his little claymation body, which was so funny, dude. It didn't look real at all, but it was so cool. Like, I just love that they did it. Like, they didn't give a fuck.
Right. Maybe that was an added thing for this segment. Since they're cutting up the movie. They're like, we gotta do this fast and cheap. Right?
And in between, like, and this is the longest segment, by the way, because it's like, you know, obviously got more story than we got in any of the other ones.
Right.
And the same cop that was in the beginning that, like, he's investigating and he knows something's up because the fucking Nazi guy and the guy disappeared and they don't know what happened to him or something. So the cop shows up to give the devil hell. Which is pretty much, like, pointless. And then Claire, the case lady, this episode that this is supposed to be about, this
right.
particular segment, wakes up and goes to the closet because she hears like some sort of creaking, when all of a sudden she's locked in and demons come up pouring up out of the ground, which is really cool looking.
Yeah, that was a cool scene.
Like, it just wasn't very atmospheric.
Right.
It just looked like blah.
Right.
Blah.
Blah.
Blah. See, blah.
Blah, blah, demons, blah.
Yeah, it was just like, but it looked really cool. Like, if that were in a fucking music video, I would have been like, oh my God, this is sick. You know, like, I don't know, maybe I'll use it in something in the future.
Yeah.
But it was cool looking. It turns out that Claire is apparently a devout Christian, by the way, which is kind of surprising since her husband is an atheist.
Right. Yeah, we had that conversation. How are they, like...
I don't know. Back in the day, people were less pushy about it, I guess.
Oh,
maybe.
Well, if you're devout Catholic, you would want to be with someone who's gonna... Well, who knows?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Don't judge them, okay?
She was a doctor, so, you know,
Christina, don't judge them. All right? And now, all of a sudden, she's a warrior nun who wields a piece of Jesus's wood box.
That's right. The priest gave her some of the cross.
Dude, what the fuck was that scene all about? She goes to talk to this priest, guys, and he's like, "You are a warrior," or something like that for God or something.
You're a warrior.
And the floor where she's sitting opens up and light comes pouring out like Jesus. And I'm like, why would it come out of the ground, first of all? Wouldn't that be like hell?
But no, maybe it was where the box was hidden in the church.
Right, and by magic, God's magic came through the floor. And all this light and smoke come through and push up through the floor. And she's like, I don't know if this was the
oh, that's not the
Little
part.
Mermaid.
Oh, was that the Little Mermaid? I have no idea.
Yeah,
I use
that's
it
what
all
that's
the time.
from. It's this like ornate box. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, this fucking movie, man, like, what is going on? Then
all over the place.
Mr. Papini goes to a temple and some lady in the white is there, but turns into a freak, and she starts calling herself Ishtar and blows him down the stairs, and the beach opens up as he's like rolling out onto the beach. Or it was a lighthouse. That's what it was.
Right.
It was a lighthouse. He rolls out onto the beach. A spider demon comes out and pulls him into the hole. A claymation spider demon, by the way. But it looked cool as shit.
It did.
I thought it was cool. But then the cop and his partner get blown up in a car outside of Olivier's house, the Nazi guy. That's Satan, apparently, that has hairy hooves for feet.
Right.
That he's really proud of.
Yeah.
But the atheist guy, Richard Mole's character, meets up with Olivier and the Nazi guy, and they ask him to join their Satan club. And he's like, I don't believe in Satan any more than I believe in God. And Olivier's like, isn't too pleased about this. So he plays a game with him, and he's like, recant now. Like, take it back. He's like, recant now before my scarf touches the ground.
I forgot about that.
Because he's like up on the fucking
That's right.
like thing, and he's like holds the scarf up all dainty, and he drops it, and it hits the floor. It turns into the same large demon that was outside of Olivier's house that stepped on that guy, and shoots a ball of red out of his hand. And it hits Richard Mole, and suddenly it goes from Richard Mole reacting to a puppet claymation thing falling onto a cross, which is in the room, I guess, because I don't know. Why would he have the cross? Why would he be in a church, first of all?
Yeah, I thought he wouldn't be able to walk in a church. Or it's that vampires. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you would think evil just can't.
Yeah, going to church. It's like
Right.
Damien can't go to church, but technically, never mind.
See, he's really powerful. And if he is too powerful, why the fuck did he get hit by a car?
Right.
And that's how he died,
Right.
almost. But the the thing before that, though, like before he gets hit by a car, like seeing Richard Moll's character like get thrown against the cross and then melt. Because like every person that this guy Olivier, the Nazi devil guy or whatever, every time somebody gets marked by him, or they're either going to die if they get the 666 on them, or they get it after they die, which is just really weird.
Didn't make any sense.
But it was cool because like they show Richard Moll's character, his head's like melted, and then you see the 666 glowing on his head, this claymation head. But it's still cool. I thought it was cool looking. But yeah, Olivier gets hit by a car, and the Claire girl that this segment's supposed to be about, I guess, tries to cut out his heart, but she's tricked into killing her assistant.
Right. Satan tricked her.
Yeah.
He's a trickety-true.
It's like...
annoying.
Yeah, it is kind of dumb.
Yeah. No,
but that was the best one of the three.
It really was.
So it's like, whatever, I'll take it because it had so many silly things in it.
Right.
But back to the purgatory train or fucking whatever.
Dance with me.
Yeah, oh my God. Did they do another number right
Yeah,
then?
they did. Didn't they end it on the number?
And he was like, oh, it's dawn. And then the train wrecks, and it's very obviously a toy train.
Right. Very obvious.
It's pretty bad looking, but it doesn't matter at this point, you know?
Right.
But the band won't stop singing the same song.
Dance with me, dance with me.
They get thrown about, and you see all their bodies piled up next to the train or something. Isn't that what it was?
I don't know.
I remember their bodies laying about or something.
I thought they showed the train going off into the distance, and that was it.
That was after. Because they started the train back up.
Parts. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like that Polar Express looking train going off into the sky.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, I guess God is like, you can't have Claire because she tried to be good all the way up into the end, you know, and the devil's mad, and it's like God wins again. I don't know, but that was a pretty interesting fucking movie, to say the least. It really
was. It was just interesting.
There was some crazy shit that happened in that movie, and there's some funny scenes. So I mean, it is enjoyable in that regards. It's not great, but you know, like I said, if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, it's kind of bizarre. I thought the first movie was bizarre, but this one is even more. And like, I kind of want to watch those full movies now, and I'll probably not like them, you know? Just because they're not like as good.
Right.
But if there's more deaths in them, then maybe, and more claymation. Gotta get more claymation.
Maybe you should research it. If you researched it, I'm sure you can figure it out.
Yeah. I don't know if Ray Harryhausen was on board because it didn't look like it. But the claymation sufficed, you know what I mean? So, but what did you guys think, man? Like, what did you guys think of these movies? I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. I know some of these are not everybody's favorite movies when we do these ones, but I love talking about them because we just laugh so much watching these movies and just kind of like to make fun of them in our loving way. But I would love to hear if you've seen these before, and if you haven't, are you going to watch them? And if you have watched them, come back, let us know. I really want to hear. I think that's it for this week. I don't know if we've decided what we're going to watch next week, have we?
No.
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to do next week, but we'll figure it out and post it up on the
socials,
our social media. So you definitely want to follow us on like Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. All of the links are located down below. You can just click on the episode link and it'll take you directly to the BTV layer. But we will be back next week with a brand new episode with some fucked up movies or something. Maybe we'll go a little bit newer. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll let you know. So, but anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming by. And as always,
Long live the point.